Hey, this is Double MP, where I'm going to solve a problem that you might have. Now, today I'm going to do a tutorial, and I don't really know how to do that, so I'm just going to be drawing and talking as I go. Yeah, I don't know. I am using Procreate on iPad. Procreate, I believe, is like $10. One of the best purchases I've ever made in my life. Yeah. So, with that being said, Jax will be my subject, because I like to subject him to whatever I subject him to. And apologies if the audio quality is kind of garbage. Ignore the brush names. Just I'm very haphazard when I work. This is just gonna be like a process of how I draw video. And not so much a tutorial, just a process of how I draw and like how I do things. Cause yeah, I don't really know if there's like a specific kind of tutorial you want to see, like how I draw a character or something. You're gonna have to tell me, because I don't really know what... I don't know. But anyways, I pick like a random... well, not a random, but I pick typically like a sketchy kind of brush. Like the peppermint brush is good for... Okay, well, why did you... There we go. Peppermint brush is good for just like sketchy type of stuff. So usually what I like to do is have like a rough sketch, and then if it's pretty messy, I like to redraw over that sketch and clean it up, because it makes line art go a lot easier and quicker. There are certain brush settings that is like really important that you need to know. Go to stabilization. This is a life changer. And you do not need much, but enable, mess with these settings. So mess with the streamline amount and pressure, and mess with the stabilization. Because let's just turn these down. If you don't have these, it's a lot more janky to draw with. So having these settings, it really doesn't matter how much it can be like that. Really just makes, it really helps with like line art and stuff, and just making things feel smoother and like less, not pretty. So, yeah, I don't really know. I don't have a goal for I don't really have an idea for a drawing. Fine, I'll draw Jax abstraction again. For Jax, I kind of do more of an ellipse than a circle. It's more of an ellipse head shape he has. So I kind of line out a sketch. See, he's too big, so I'm gonna have to make him small. Already. So... yeah, art is a lot of trial and error, and digital art makes it really nice to error, because you can kind of correct it I don't like that. You can correct it relatively easily. Dude, whatever. See, it's moments like this where it's like, you just go for a rough sketch. You don't have to make it pretty. It doesn't have to be pretty yet. You just kind of throw up your idea. No, well, that's... you just sketch up your idea. And, just block it. Like, I do a lot of blocking. Because, like, I'm not doing a lot... I do a lot of, like, undefined shapes. And Jax is... hard to draw, but pretty easy to draw. Like, faces are more complicated to draw, but Jax is just very 2D, so it's pretty easy to, like, draw. I really don't like It's okay, I'll fix it. It's gonna be one of the trust the process moments. I fear. Can't forget his little tail. I've drawn this pose of Jack's abstraction so many times. I don't think I'll ever be able to top the one comic that I did when it comes to Jack's abstraction. Actually, just go away. Actually, I changed my mind on the expression that I want him to have. Oh, that's sickening. Oh. But yeah, it's just it's a lot of, this is the stage of a sketch where it's messy and ugly. And you have to be okay with it, is the thing. You have to kind of Frankenstein your way to perfection at this point. 'Cause like his neck is actually too far to the left, so I'm gonna move it a little bit. And this is where the lasso tool kind of comes in handy with that. It goes maybe like right there. And his body arguably is also a little bit too big too. So I'm gonna make it smaller. His one arm is also too big. I'm being picky because I feel like I'm on the spot right now. But this is a lot of it. This is a lot of the sketching phase. Anyways, now that you have a blocked out sketch, trying to think. Make his ears bigger. Work it harder, make it better, do it faster, makes us stronger, hour after hour after hour, work is never over. Alright, now you have a sketch. And depending on, this sketch is kind of clean. But sometimes what I will do is not appropriately name my layers and just have all my layers. Usually what I do is just this. I'm weirdly picky about like having all my layers be called layer 1 for some reason. They all have to be called that. Heaven forbid I press the plus button. But that's up to whether you or not you want to name layers or not. But we will call this rough sketch. We'll do this for tutorial purposes. And then clean sketch. So we have rough sketch and clean sketch. What you're gonna do, what I do, actually, I turn this down to like, not super visible. You can't see this very well. Then I go to a different layer, clean sketch, and then I'll just go over the sketch and like, essentially clean it up. So, but this is where you just kind of go in and you like fix stuff. And the thing is, I don't really have a method for like how I draw, because a lot of it is just like you kind of look at it and you get an eye for like what looks good and what doesn't. See, like that doesn't look good. How? For the fingies, I kind of like to have it get bigger here, and then just kind of, I don't like that, and I don't know why. Oh, maybe that's why. And then sometimes you just kind of gotta go for a different angle. I want it to look more relaxed, like his hand. I'm not really super great at drawing hands. Probably contrary to whatever the YouTube comments are gonna say. But, and then this is where I also, sometimes I'll take a section, I usually do this with hands. I'll take a section, and I will just... Yeah, ooh, wait. Like, I'll do a lasso and copy paste of a certain section, like a hand, and then I'll like draw over that on the layer that I want to keep, and clean up if I'm having an issue, because usually I have an issue with hands. So also, if you're drawing hands, typically, especially with the forefingers, middle finger is going to be the taller finger. This is where you kind of have to have an eye for it, but it's gonna look weird if like your index or pinky finger is bigger than your middle finger. So, why does it look weird? Sometimes this is what it boils down to. Trial and error until you find something that works. Girl! Oh my goodness! My stomach. And sometimes I'll use my own hand for reference. So like... that might be a little bit better. I genuinely don't like that. I'm gonna crash out. This is terrible. Why can't I draw? It's worse! Oh my days. Alright, I'm gonna settle on that hand. And I'm gonna come down here. Do that. See, a lot of this is just kind of like eyeballing it for me. I don't really have a great method on how to draw. It just doesn't work for me. Like, I've tried doing the whole, like, you know, like, really, like structuring the body and the hips and like, I can't do that. I typically can't do that. The most you're probably gonna see me do when it comes to guideline-y type of stuff is like facial, this, when it comes to the face. That's the most you're gonna see me do, probably. Everything else I eyeball. I feel like, whatever. Yeah, whatever, that'll be fine for now. Sometimes you just gotta say frick it, we ball, and just leave it up to that. A lot of it is just ba 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 ba. You're a horrible host. Bwomp, bwomp, bwomp. Yeah, okay, well, I guess I could give some tips. So, you do have to take into account that the body is not exactly 2D, so there's going to be certain... you eventually learn this stuff as you practice it, and especially I recommend, like, references and stuff. Typically this comes with, like, as you practice type of thing. And like, definitely with references, having like a mannequin that you can kind of move around and model. Like, I've done that before on like websites that have just like free websites where you can, like, I think one is like Pose My Art or something. I'll link it in the description. But for like more complex poses, or just like seeing where the body is placed and where certain things are placed, that's really helpful. Because like with Jax's leg here, it's not just his leg. Like, you have to take into account... I'll just sketch it out for the sake of this. His leg will start here, and then his other leg will be, like, around here. See, like, it's probably too high up. So you're going to see some crease here, because that's where his leg actually starts. It's not like, you know... I don't know how else you draw that. Because that's not how my brain is working. So you're going to see this, basically, is kind of how it's more so gonna look. You're gonna see a crease here. And I round the knees typically because knees are round. They're not straight. Or they're not pointy. Because this would look weird. So I round the knees. And kind of depending on the position, like the angle of the body, like for the calves and stuff, they're kind of gonna intersect a little bit. Like, one's probably not gonna overlap on the other. If they were to overlap, I think this would kind of... Nope, it would be the other one. It'd be like that. And then his feet are just like little blocks. They're kind of blocks, and then I do that. Which isn't even right. It'd be more like that. This just doesn't look right to me, is the problem. It's too real. It needs to be more cartoony. This is the problem with drawing cartoons, is you kind of forget how to draw anything that isn't cartoony. Another art tip is, like, you kind of want to have a more clear silhouette. Which is basically like, you don't want a lot of things overlapping in a way that wouldn't, like, it would just end up be confusing if it was a silhouette. And then another thing that I try to avoid is, like, lines that, like, meet in a weird way. Like, I think, a Pomni drawing that kind of I have this problem with, so let me find it. See this? Avoid that. If you can, avoid that as best as you can. Because it makes your art not look as good. I'm not gonna fix it, I don't care to. So typically you kind of want to avoid... Like, you wouldn't want to do something like this. You kind of want, if something is not a part of something, you want it to be a part of, you want it to be apart from that thing. And if you want something to look like it's a part of that thing, obviously you kind of connect the lines better. It's a tip that I saw a while ago that I appreciate very much so. All my girls hot and ready. Eat it up, eat it up, eat it up, eat it. Also, don't be afraid to, like, really turn your canvas and stuff if you need to. I did see another tip that's, like, kind of don't fight against your way of drawing. So like drawing Jax's mouth, for example. It was just... So instead of me fighting against my hand and going like, eh, like that, I turn the canvas around and meet, like, the natural way my hand wants to go. The natural way my arm wants to go and my hand wants to go. Don't be afraid to, like, you know, utilize that to your advantage. This kind of sucks. But it doesn't have to be perfect. This is just for tutorial purposes. He's too tall. Or his legs aren't long enough. I forgot his tail. yeah, sometimes it's just... it do be like that. Don't you notice how I get quiet when there's no one else around? Now we get to move on to line art, yay! Line. So depending on what kind of vibe you want to go for, line art is kind of gonna play an interesting role in this. Or the absence of line art as well. So depending on like what art style you want to achieve, like this, I used a lot for, let me see if I can find it. I had used this brush a lot for this comic. And the abstraction sequence specifically, to give it a sort of watercolor vibe and a more dreamy like vibe. And mind you, this is like multiple layers. This is a lot of different layers. I mean, yeah. There's that layer. You barely can even see that in the background. There's that. Oh, there's even more layers down, I think. Lots of layers. Lots of layers. Never be afraid of... I mean, look at the layer numbers. Never be afraid. To be fair, there's like other parts of the comic in here. But never be afraid to use layers. In fact, I recommend using more layers than not because it will be easier for you to fix stuff in the long run if everything isn't on one layer. Because if you could, like, I can't imagine, like, all of this being merged into one layer and then seeing, like, that, or, like, a line or whatever, and then being like, oh, no. So don't be afraid of using layers. With this, there's even more layers than I thought there would be to Jax. I will never top this. Even here, he's just yum yum yum. Twig. Make him twig. It does help if you like study, not necessarily study, but just look at body anatomy. I've already been recording for 30 minutes, have mercy. This is taking longer than I thought it would. It does help if you actually bother to kind of study anatomy and just get out of your comfort zone. I was doing that a lot for a period of time when I was working on like OC stuff. Actually, you don't know who this character is, but that's fine. I drew this before the Frieren, I'm not sure how you say the name, trend that was going around about like, wow, this is a hard angle to draw. I was already trying to practice like hard angles at that point to draw. It was really funny to publish this like afterwards because I was just already practicing drawing hard angles because I wanted to like learn how to draw harder things. And you just gotta try it. Because then there's also this one. And I don't like this one as much because he just looks worse. And it's all in the bottom of the jaw, like down here. It's just different. And like arts, like line art and stuff, I think also has a part to play with that. So you just gotta get out of your comfort zone. And you have to be willing to play around. Like I play around a lot with art to see what works. Let's go into line art. Let's go ahead and do... that. Actually, no, it's still too thick. I want it a little thinner. I duplicate a lot of my brushes because I don't like to change the sizes too much, so I'll duplicate the brush so I can change the size, and it's a terrible system that I have set up for me. I don't recommend it. I don't really know what to say here, so And then the lasso tool will be your best friend. And if it's not your best friend, you better make it your best friend. Because it will be helpful. Now, you could be one of those people with, like, varying line art weights. I don't do that. Because that's a lot for me. But some people do that. Some people do that. And it's cool when they do that, because it does add more depth to art. I just don't have the patience for it, and the eye for it. Oh, typically with fingers, it does, technically fingers have that many joints, but I kind of hack it and just do like 2-ish. And you can get away with it if you are drawing cartoons. You can get away with it. You can get away with a lot when you're drawing cartoons, because cartoons are very much more flimsy. So you can kind of play with it a little more. Will I ever be satisfied with this hand? The answer is no. But I can't I can't keep doing this. Proceeds to keep doing this. Whatever. See, this is where cleaner line art is more helpful, because you know where things will actually need to go when you clean up the line art. Very round edges. Very round. Depending on what you're working on, you don't typically want super pointy edges, but it kind of does depend on what you're working on. And it just kind of depends on your art style, honestly. Wow, this is not turning out ideal, but I must press on. And there you have it. Line art. See? I see it. I see it. I see you. That needs to change. See, this is where it's gonna get into a more interesting part. Because now you can play with colors. So if you're lazy like me, one thing that you're probably gonna do is something like this, where you make like a couple of layers or two. Let's move on to these down here. We'll call this one color. Don't ask me why it's all caps. We are going to hit reference on this line art layer that I doubled and then merged those two layers down together. And then we're gonna pick a color. Like that. And it didn't work. So, hold on, actually, let me go slow down. There's this, and there's a little slider that you can kind of, if you want to fill more, you can fill more. If you want to fill less, you can fill less. So we're gonna do fill less, since I didn't do that good enough. I didn't do that good enough at all. And you're just gonna start, boom. Boom. Quick line art method, or quick fill color method. It's basically the paint bucket tool. And then you can delete this layer. And typically what I like to do is I like to duplicate the line art layer. Actually, hold on. Alpha lock, and just make it like a really dark red or orange color. Fill it. And then duplicate that. Unalpha lock that. You can unalpha lock the other one as well. And I hit Gaussian blur. And I like to do about like 3 And it adds like a really soft looking color. Now sometimes I will turn this down a bit. Like around there. I'm gonna actually do that. And see if I can't kind of get this to fill a little more. Because it looks empty in certain spots. And I don't really like that. You can't see anything. I know. Trust the process. I didn't really do anything. That's fine. I will turn this up though. I'm really noticing it by his mouth. I don't really like that. So, see if this fixes it. Color fill. Ooh, it does. I like the pink. Okay. Now at this stage, I'll go ahead and fully color. I will do one of two things. There's a few ways you can approach the lighting and shading method. One way you can approach this is alpha locking your one colored layer. So doing this. And then what I do is I go kind of like that and a little bit to that. And kind of, actually, no, I think it would be the other way. I don't know what I'm doing. Me. And shade this way. Kind of shade stuff this way. Or what you can do, you can make a new layer. We'll put shade. Clipping mask to the layer below it, and go to multiply. There's other settings. Sorry, my voice is getting crunchy. There's other settings that you can do that will have a similar effect, but I typically go for multiply. And you can even just boom. Yeah. And just shade that way. I don't really want to do that one though. You can also do lighting that way too. But it wouldn't be multiply, it would be something like I either do add or screen depending on what I want it to look like. So add will be way more like this. So kind of, okay, I'll do the cheap way of how I do this. So we'll just kind of find your light source. We're gonna pretend that the light source is here. Oh. Heaven above, the light source is here. Ish. And then, like, this is the lazy way I do coloring, and lighting and shading. Go to Gaussian blur again, and just blur that bad boy. Boom! Actually, wait. Boom! Let there be light. Actually, wait, I don't want to do that yet. Boom. Let there be shade. And that's the quickest way you can do lighting and shading, is just that. Now, what you can do with the lighting and shading, I typically go for, like, purple or blue when it comes to shading anyways, but for lighting, you can go for, like around here somewhere. You can, like, go full on bright, but then it kind of just, I don't know. Sometimes it doesn't work out. Screen will have a less bright effect. It'll look more natural if you don't want that, like, pop. But I like the ad. It's so beautiful. Gorgeous. Now you can also do just a little bit of like a warm color and just turn it down a lot, and it'll add like a warm looking effect. Like that looks so much more warm and nice and just gorgeous. Unrelated, but while I'm here, one way you can kind of learn how to do like learn color theory type of stuff is go away. Fill this, multiply, and then boom. You can just do the whatever this is called, and then look and see what color it is. And then you can adjust this obviously to your liking, so you can do like that. That looks more natural. And then you can look over here and be like, whoa, it's actually that color. I've done that before. I'm not doing that right now. Blurred. But anyways, this is a cheap way to do lighting and shading. I don't want to do that though. So what I'm gonna do is this method, and yes, I usually just kind of throw it up like this. Kind of depends on what I'm doing specifically, but and I usually don't get very picky with like certain parts. Like here, you're probably gonna want a more darker color and like be like more like some artists are like more picky about that. I don't have the patience, so I kind of just, you know, areas that I know are gonna be a little bit more dark, kind of go for it a little bit like that. But for light, just kind of do that. I don't know. Usually you do want to kind of shift your values a little bit. So like this is the default color. You don't want to just go down. That's going to look bad. See like how muddy that kind of looks? You want to shift it over a little bit. Give it more saturation, I believe is what it's called.
And it makes it look pretty. It's beautiful.
But yeah, that's also a tip that I've learned over time. Then sometimes I will use blendy tool. There's specific stuff that I know that people need to know about the blendy tool. Oh, I think it's, let's just go into one. I believe it's called smudge pool. Smudge pool. You don't want this very high. You want this kind of lower. You'll thank me later. And then you just kind of, I don't turn this up super high. I'll fiddle with these settings as I draw. But typically you don't want that super high. At least I don't. Okay, well, I want it higher. And then you just blend stuff. Or if you're lazy. Gauge and blur. But I'm not lazy today. You can just kind of, I do like to typically do a more textured brush when it comes to blurring things, because it just looks better in my opinion. It'll give your drawings a little bit more texture usually. You just kind of gotta play around. Like a lot of this I've discovered just by playing around. And trying things and seeing what I like and seeing what I don't like. Like, see, I don't like this. Why is it being like that? So I'm probably gonna try a different brush. Where's the... It's not here. Where is that? Is it in a different library? It is. So this will kind of go more for the effect that I did kind of want. This is also kind of the stinky part about, crap. Using, like, the alpha lock layer It's more difficult when you're trying to blend stuff, because you kind of have to stay on the layer, but sometimes you don't want to stay on the layer. So I don't typically go for the alpha lock stuff. I'll go for like the clipping mask and then do whatever I need to with that. And I find it to be a little bit more malleable, I believe would be the word to use in this context. And then I'll, if I don't like something. No, where's the other one? Sometimes you just gotta make up stuff. With lighting and shading, you just kind of gotta, I just guess. If I kind of just guess. And I think, yeah, shading will probably go here, because usually when stuff overlaps like this, there's going to be shading here, you know? But that also, again, depends on, like, your light source. But you'd be surprised how much I guess. Guess.
Like his little thumb sticks out. So, light the little thumb.
Then, like, see that? And you can get more picky with it. Like this. If I actually do it right. Which I won't. Why? It's way too big. Way too big. Way too much. Boom. You could choose to be more picky with it, you could choose to not be more picky with it. Really, it just depends on what you want. If you like it, then yay! Yippee! That's what we want, is for you to enjoy your art. If I need to do, like, more bigger areas like this, I will make the brush bigger and just just kind of go crazy, go stupid. And then if I want certain areas to kind of be more shaded or highlighted, I'll come back in and bring a different color and just make little adjustments like that. Already looking a lot better. Like that a lot better. Will say I kind of want that. And then I find, like, kind of bringing it in with a bigger brush size will make that nicer to deal with.
There should be a little bit of shade in there, in my opinion.
See, this is why I hate messing with the alfalfa. The alpha lock layer. Really, I just should be working with a smaller brush. See, that's the problem with me, is I don't do what's convenient for me. And the tip that I showed you earlier, you can also still technically do if you kind of want, like, just like that extra sauce. Hold on. I want to fix that. That's my wrist popping, if you can hear that. I don't know why it's doing that. That's how I've been with my body. I feel like the past few days. It's just kind of like, yeah, I don't know why it's doing that. So what you can do is ideally do something like that. Use this fill tool. And we're just gonna go ahead and actually do this. Add, turn that down. Multiply, turn that down. And then just blur, baby. I haven't actually done this in a while. But it does kind of add a little bit. Just adds a little more to it. Kind of brings it all together. Good enough. And then, for backgrounds, usually I just kind of throw something together. With the abstraction the abstraction background, we're just gonna... Wee. 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 I don't know, something. And then ideally you do kind of want, like, it to be... Ooh, that's not... Hold on. Something more so like that. I'm not usually super picky with this part of stuff. You kind of want to move stuff around. Like, you don't want to just have, like, a big blob right here, you know? And I'll show you why. I will go to, like, liquefy. Whee! See, actually adding that red was, like, a huge mistake. Hold on. Actually, starting over. We're gonna go for more pastel-y colors. I need a different brush. See, this is what I did a lot for that one abstraction comic. And just kind of... Right. And you just I just throw stuff together. Like, I don't really have, there's not really much of a method other than madness. And that's okay. It's the whole point of art, is to be a little bit mad. But in a good way. So, yeah. And then, what you can do, I'll figure that out later. Then I think what I also did with that abstraction comic is, like, blend stuff kind of like this. Actually, no. I think I did the Gaussian blur thing again. But turn that down. Turn it down. Yeah. Then... I play around a lot with layers like this. Ooh, see? 'Cause that's cool. That's what happens. I find something and I'm like, ooh. Ooh! See, that's cool. I don't even know what I did. And you have no idea how much I'll play around with layers and colors and just throw stuff together. See, I'm seeing... I like this, but I don't understand what's happening here. Whoa. I need more color. Oh, yeah. Oh. Buddy. Wait. This is just genuinely how I work. I just throw stuff together. So it's kind of hard for me to make a tutorial when my strategy is literally the one Moon Knight meme where he's like, random bullcrap, go. Like, I can't help anyone with that. I want more green. How do I get green? Ooh! Wait, I don't want that. I do want that, like, right there. Hold on, if I... Huh. Can I... What color is that? I'm so sorry for flashbanging, everybody. Normal. What color is that Yeah, okay. Then what sometimes I'll also do is this. It's like too light though. How do I fix that? Oh, I can't. If you want some texture, make a new layer, make it gray. Do noise. Turn that baby up. And multi. And you can kind of scale this how you want. I usually I kind of zoom in to see, like, that's a little bit lower than that, and that's good. And then you turn this down a lot, like 7% opacity. And another thing you can do to make it look dreamy and cute and pretty, let me go ahead and just get rid of that. Make another layer and then blur it and turn it down. You can multiply it if you want, or just do one of these if you want. I actually kind of like the multiply layer. Actually, I don't know if I do. I do also try to avoid, like, samey colors in the background. So, like, I might duplicate and, like, fill this layer with something like... Say, we'll do that. I don't know. And then multiply and, like... Hopefully it kind of makes Jax stand out a little more and blend less in the background. My arm is itchy. Are you okay? But yeah, there's not really a method to... There's not a method. I just throw stuff together. Then if you want to kind of get, I don't know. You can make, like, more layers and just, like... do stuff. Like, you're not restricted to one layer. Do you like to turn down the opacity to quite a low one? A lot of people like to use overlay. I don't. Then sometimes you can just... Like, it does kind of depend. If you want more of a warm feeling, you want to go more for, like, orange, yellow, red. If you want, or even pink. If you want to go for a more cool feel, you'll probably want to go for, like, blue and purple. And that'll kind of change the course of your drawing. See, like that. Ooh, that kind of looks cool. Hold on. There's way too much. I need more of you. We want you. We want you. We want you as the new recruit. See, that's kind of cool. Literally, this is just how I draw. Just like, just throw stuff together and just experiment. Just have fun. Play with the different layers, play with different poses, play with different stuff. Yeah. And then I sign my work. I either, depending on lighting and shading and situation, I go for certain stuff. And I do kind of like to do it more, I'd like to put my signature more towards an area that people are going to be mad at me for putting it. Dem art thieves. Yeah. Let me see if I can't look at, like, some of my older drawings and kind of talk through my process with those. Let's just go with this one right off the bat. So for, like, this background, I obviously use this swirly thing. I used, like, there's some texture brushes. It's actually probably in the different library. Like, some of these are, there's pastels. These pastels are really nice for certain looks. Oh, see, I had, this one has like some chromatic aberration, which is basically this. Whee! I don't need to do that. I already did that. See, like, there's a lot of different layers I use. And it just depends on what you want. For the more dreamy vibe, I like have a lot of like blurred layers. For like a more cartoony, actually this even has blurred layers, but this is a completely different line art. Which gives it a more solidified look. I don't really know what I'm talking about. Yeah. This was a no line art one. And this has lots of layers. Lots of layers. Typically when I do no line art, I have a ridiculous amount of layers for it. I might still have that. Like this. Where are my layers? Oh. Well, I made myself look bad. I made myself a liar. Well, okay. The hair was on a different layer. Skin color was on a different layer. Outfit, if it was same color, on a different layer. Even like the smile and stuff and the blush, all of like different layers. Any of the line art, different layers. My best art advice would be literally to just try stuff. Like, a lot of how I got to a certain point, and just draw stuff that you enjoy and want to learn. And sometimes it's, you know, it's not fun to like figure out stuff, and that's where like references come in real handy. Like this drawing, I did the pose my art thing and made the pose. And then I can't remember if I actually sketched over that or not. I think usually what I'll do is attempt to do it on my own at first. And then if I get really frustrated, then I'll sketch over it. Don't be afraid of using references. Don't be afraid of like tutorials and stuff. And don't be afraid to just like do crap. Like just throw stuff together. That's what I do all the time, and it works out great for me. There doesn't have to be a method to the madness, just make it madness. That's the whole point of art, is to just do stuff. But having references helps a lot to make things look, you know, more in harmony with each other. And a lot of this is just stuff you kind of pick up as you go along. Like, a lot of this is just stuff I've picked up as I've engaged with different art stuff. So with like coloring and lighting and shading, like don't just go straight down. Like, you know, use more saturated colors if you know, to make your art pop. Don't be afraid of using references. Don't be afraid to just try stuff. And don't be afraid to, like, you know, if you're working with like digital software, don't be afraid to like use a bunch of layers and use the tools that are given to you, and use like the different layer filters or whatever they're called. I use those all the time. I abuse those, if anything. I use those all the time for my art. So don't be afraid to do that. I think that's all I can really give. If there's any specific, like, how do I do this? You've got to tell me, because I don't know. I don't do stuff like this, so I don't know. I don't know what would help people, so just, this is my process of art, is just throw stuff together and just try stuff. I use, like, what looks good to my eye a lot. You kind of do have to train your eye a little bit. Like, you have to train your eye to know what looks good and what doesn't look good. And sometimes your skill level just doesn't match, and that's okay. Like, that's the whole point of just doing stuff. Like, that's why I did try and branch out and do more unique poses and stuff like this, and more unique angles. Like, this isn't really, I'm not super proud of this, but this was like a unique pose for me to do. This, I don't know if I had a specific pose laid out, but I have done that before, where I'll pose myself to have the general structure, and pose the camera to have a general idea of what I want, and then kind of take it from there. And that helps dramatically. That helps a lot more than you think it would, because I've done it like without a reference, with a reference. You know, I always opt in for, like, if you need a reference, use the reference. And if you need to trace it, like, do it in a way where, like, you can understand how it's structured, so you won't need the reference in the future, or you won't need to trace in the future. But you likely will. Like, this isn't something that, like it's okay. Just, you know, be ethical about it. But yeah, just do stuff. Just have fun with it. Don't be afraid to just try things. Mess with the, like, layers and different brushes, and figure out what you like, and figure out what works for you and what you want. Like, a lot of this stuff is like, I like that art style, I want to learn how to do that. So like Jax, for example. I like Jax, I want to learn how to draw Jax, and then I just drew him for 3 months straight. Sometimes it takes just being way too fixated on one character. If there's any specific, like, how do I do insert thing here, or how do I draw insert character here kind of tutorials, tell me, because I don't know what specifically people want. And this, I think, would be a nice, I think just doing a general, like, progress type of tutorial was fine for me to do for the first time around for an art tutorial. But if I need to go more into, like, how do I pose my character type of thing, and, like, go into more of, like, what I've learned over time, and, like, with specific subjects like that, or, like, lighting and shading or whatever, or how do you draw Jax? How do you make him look so good? Just, like, let me know. But I'm gonna leave it here because it's been very long. I probably won't edit too much, just some pieces where it's like dead air. But yeah,